I would like, first of all, to welcome everybody, to welcome all participants for this third webinar of acrobatic gymnastics proposed by European Gymnastics. I'm very pleased to announce you that there will be another series of webinars in the spring 2021 and maybe further. You have been very enthusiastic for the two first editions, and we will continue to welcome all your feedbacks to improve our proposal. We are very lucky to be supported in this series of webinars by European Gymnastics. Today we have our best number of registrations, more than 250, coming from all over Europe and more. Some of you are here for the third time, as Rosie Taymans, that I would like again to thank for sharing her time with us. About this webinar, you've all received the email. So as it was explained, your camera is disconnected as well as your microphone, but you will have the possibility to talk with us using the chat or using the Q&A section. This webinar will be held in English only, and I will be the moderator. So when you have some questions, I will pass them on to our experts, Lorenzo Franca. Just for your information, this webinar is recorded, so you will have access to this webinar on the YouTube channel of European Gymnastics. The goal of this third webinar is to talk about planification, and our experts will divide this presentation in three parts. He will speak first about the notion of planning, about the training process, and then about a very challenging aspect for the coach, how to manage the load. So after each part, there will be a small sequence of Q&A, of question and answers. So do not hesitate to write all your questions in this part. You can do it at the time Lorenzo is speaking, or just when he will give you the possibility to ask some questions. But it's very important for us that, especially in this subject that is particularly theoretical, that we can have some question and answers, and that it becomes an interactive webinar. We are very honored to welcome today our special guest that will deliver and share his knowledge with us. It's Mr. Lorenzo Franca. I don't know if it's necessary to present him, but just in case, he's the head coach of Acro Club of Maia in Portugal. He's the coach of members of the national team of Portugal since 1999, with great results, as is the coach of international medalists at European and world levels. And besides his activity as a coach, he's also an FIG Academy expert and a physical education teacher, as he has a master in biomechanics in gymnastics. So, of course, Lorenzo, I will give you the floor. You can tell us more about you. And now we are very looking forward to listening to all what you have to tell us. Thanks, Lorenzo, to be here with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for the presentation. Thank you all for being here. Apparently there's nothing best to do in this lovely Saturday afternoon than talking about acro and gymnastics. And that is something really amazing. When Karim told me that was 250, I thought, well, yeah, no pressure. It's, you know, few numbers. So, well, thank you once more. It's a privilege to be here. It's really strange and awkward because, you know, talking to you all and I cannot see you, and this is, you know, something really strange. But I will try to share, like Karin said, you know, the vision and my path for the last 25 years in gymnastics. I have a master in biomechanics. I was, in the beginning of my career, I coached men and women artistic. I've coached trampoline. I'm coaching of acro since '95, and all my academic path has been in the way of gathering the most amount of knowledge I could to help my gymnasts be as good as they want to be. So I've tried a lot of directions, a lot of things. I finished my thesis in the physical education with a thesis in pedagogy and what's the best way of learning in gymnastics. I also did papers in physiology. The master was in biomechanics. I've tried to start a PhD in psychology, although I didn't finish because there was not enough time. But the idea was to get all these tools from all those side sciences that could help me being, the best coach I could be for my gymnasts. So, after all this, trying to gather this in, like the juice of everything is coming into this. So this webinar is like the juice of my 25 years of coaching, my visions, my thoughts, and I realized that the essence of our job is planning. So today I want to give you some of the things I've researched for the last years. I've structured this webinar in 3 parts, like Karin told. So the part will be about the planning. These are some of the topics, we'll talk about where to go from my vision, from heart to mind, from our beliefs to where the science will guide us. And then we'll have some insights on the training principles, which is really important, and what happens in puberty. Sometimes we are known as teenager sports. Acro, the average age, it's really young people. So this is really important for us to understand. And also some insight on the strength and physical preparation, because it always amazes us how can we develop them. Then we will talk about the training process, not just the way of we can do the training, but how do the gymnasts learn? How can we develop and learn complex motor skills? And also, how can we structure the training process, like taking the best of what we have and do not complaining with what we don't have. Then we go a little deep on 2 interesting and sometimes not that friendly concepts as volume and intensity, but we will try to reach them in a really interesting way. And we will finish with a subject I'm trying to study for some time, which is the load. If we manage to understand the load, we will manage the training science, and we will manage pretty much everything we do. So with no further delays, and this is what we will try to talk today, we will start with the planning. So what do we normally plan? How do we design our planning? So these are normally the 2 questions we constantly try to find answers. Normally I try to give, or at least to post one more, which is, why do I plan? I think it's just a different concept from what we are used to do. I just look it from a different angle. Normally we ask what to plan, which partnership, which calendar, what are the competitions we want to go. So we normally start with that, and then we go to the how. So how we're going to do that, which metrics, which ways of doing things, the amount of time we have. And sometimes we leave to the end, and sometimes we don't even ask that. the what for, the why. And the why aren't the goals. You know, the goals is just the result. The what for is what you believe that you want to achieve with that. So I normally start with that. So why the hell am I going to do this planning? What do I believe? What are my gymnasts' goals? And I ask them, and I make their goals my goals, not the other way around. And then when I have acknowledged that the goals my gymnasts have, I make them mine. So I said, okay, so let's go for it. We need to go dig deeper. Which instruments, which tools, what time do I need for them to achieve what they want? What equipment do I have or do I need to pursue the goal they have? So only then I will go and look at calendars. I will look at the competitions and, you know, all the other external things that may limit us and create the framework where we stand. So just, you know, for you to understand, we all plan for the same. You know, we all plan for success. We plan for that. And what is success? Well, each and every one of us should have, I do have, my own definition. And it's too individual and sometimes too deep to make my definition other people's definition. But I think, you know, sometimes I see myself as I want to win as the next man, as any other coach. But for me, success would be giving the best I could to achieve the goals I set to achieve. And that will bring us some tranquility, some peace of mind, from knowing that you give the best you could give. No one can give more than your best. So if you work that hard, you know, sometimes you hear people, I want you to give 110%, 100, this is not gonna happen. We know that's impossible. I wish I'm able to give as close to 100% and I will be in peace with myself and with my goals. And I try that my gymnasts perform at that rate also. That would be amazing. You know, sometimes, well, I'll just give you a sideline of this. Many years ago, many years, last century, I had a coach that always said that we were the best in the world. You know, you are the best, and we were kids. We trained harder because he told us we were the best, and he told us that in a sincere way. So when we start to grow, we start to go to international meetings and we lose to pretty much everyone. So you start asking questions and and one day we come to him and we said, look, you always say we are the best in the world, but we keep on losing with the other countries. So aren't you just saying that, you know, to keep us motivated? And he was really calm and he said, look, you are the best in the world. There's no question about it. From the group that trains 4 hours per day. And, you know, the problem or the thing is that you do not compete only with gymnasts that train 4 hours per day. Sometimes you compete with gymnasts that train 6 or 5 or 7 or 8. And to those you will lose probably. But I'm really happy and proud because, you know, you work a lot and you are the best of the ones with that kind of training volume. So he was in peace of mind with himself, and that was also motivational because, you know, because of that insight he had with us, we wanted to train a little bit more. Okay, this was just a small sideline. I will try to not deviate from the plan. So it is really an honor to be able to have a quote from Mr. John Wooden in a webinar of my own. Yeah, and failing to prepare is preparing to fail, and that is where we enter. We as coaches, we need to set things so that will not happen, and we are prepared for, you know, pretty much everything. I found this on the internet some days ago, and I thought, yeah, I have to put this one because you know, at my gym we have a saying with the coach that goes something like, we plan not to follow the plan, but we know where to go. We know where we start. We have a clear image of the path. If you decide to go off road, you know where we should be. You know where you should go. You can see the path every time. But sometimes, you know, and let's not even talk about 2020 because, you know, the arrow will be, you know, much more awkward than this one. So let's go a little bit deeper. Based on what do we plan? And this is not even a question, because every one of us based probably the planning on the same thing. We based everything, or pretty much everything, on the calendar we get from, you know, the institutions that organize the sport. It can be a private meeting, a regional, national, international. Normally it's a mix of all of them. And we must now try to understand, or try to separate or structure all these events into some special blocks that will assist us with the timing. And that's why we cut everything into slices, into small pieces. We can go for a 4-year or 5-year pluriannual, you know, thing, and then we go to the annual and the monthly, and you know, sometimes weeks, sometimes more than a week, and then the daily, and then the training. So we cut into slices that we understand. You can talk, you know, normally you can have your own 5-year or 10-year plan, yeah, but you cannot think on that when you're doing the training plan for every week. So we have to narrow things to a framework we understand, and that will, you know, that will guide us to the $1 million question, which is this one: what is our biggest asset and our worst nightmare? You know, what is coach best ally, and at the same time our worst enemy? And you know, yeah, I see some hands in the air. I wish I don't, but I wish. Well, it's not family or food or schools or jobs or business or adversary. It's not our fellow team member. It's not a specific competition. You know, it's something every one of us have. Either you are Portuguese or Russian or Chinese or Brazilian or Eskimo. It's time. Time is the same for all of us, and every one of us has the same 24-hour, the same 60-minute hour, the same exact 60-second minute. The key issue here is what you do with it. How do you work or make it work for you and not against you? You know, time, it says, it's the only non-redeemable commodity. You know, you cannot exchange it, meaning you spend time, it doesn't come back. Some of you are thinking right now, I'm not getting this time back. I know, sorry, I'll try to make it worth, but you know, it is the same for all of us. And this is the same, for example, the same principle of mindfulness, you know, the principles of living in the moment, being here, take the most of what you have and where you are. So when you are in training, you take the most out of it. So plan it. So how can we deal with time, with the time we have? How can we structure it? How can we use it in our advantage, and how can we divide it? And that will lead us, most importantly, to the goals we we have. Most of them are dependent on time. So how do we define them? Where do we start? Do we do a background or a retrospect analysis of our starting position? Do we only think about qualitative, the training goals, the technical goals, the elements, the improvements, difficulty? Should we go on the quantitative, the score, the place, the ranking? Sometimes our job is too much dependent on the quantitative, although which is just the result, is not the process. Okay, it's just the product of everything. And don't count on me to talk about the things I will not control. I don't control the training of my adversaries. I control the training of my gymnasts. So with that, I can talk. For the rest, the quantitative, I have really difficult time processing the need for having goals like that. So I'm sure you've all heard about the kind of SMART goal definition. It's not clever goals, not intelligent, it's SMART goals. And SMART goals are the acronym, acronym for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. The SMART goals. So specific because we need precise goals. We need to know exactly where to go. Just remember that we plan not to follow the plan, meaning that sometimes you deviate from the road you have, but you don't take your eyes from it. It's measurable because, all you should have some metric that you can evaluate. And I don't mean a metric by the mark or how much score. I mean a metric like, for example, I want my gymnast to have 20 repetitions with a certain amount of success, so they can register and say in the end of training, we did from that 20, we did 10. Okay, 10 is just 50% of the rate of success I'm expecting. So you cannot take that into competition. Let's readjust what we are planning, and the goal should be attainable. Well, I tell you this, since I was a young kid, I'm still a young kid, but I'm involved in adult stuff, but I wanted to be an astronaut. And although I never done anything towards that goal, because I didn't thought it was attainable. So one thing is I want to be, but I'm not doing anything about it. And that can relate a lot with what are the goals. And that is why I ask my gymnasts, I want them to see the attainable of every goal and not me saying, yeah, in June you are going to do triple. And they say, man, this man is crazy. I'm still struggling with a straight salto. So, it should be attainable and relevant because, we need to have everything need to be to have some meaning for the people involved. We are human beings. We need to feel relevant on what we do. Is like the story of those two builders laying bricks, making a wall, and that reporter comes to him and goes to one of them. He was all grumpy and harsh and replying, "Don't you see I'm building a stupid wall?" And then when he approached to the other was far way more advanced and replied with a smile, "Don't you see I'm building a cathedral?" And both were building the same, but for one, his goals were relevant, they matter, and the goal should be timely. Should be, that there's a saying that goes, the difference between a dream and a goal is that a goal is a date. So we need to put a date on our dreams and they will become our goals. So after you establish this and you follow these five simple rules, we should go for a bit of science. Just for to talk a little bit about the 7 training principles. And I will go relatively fast, but it's important that we talk about them. And the first of it is that adaptation is specific to the mind. To the stimulus we give. Once a friend of mine from Canada in a course we took together told me amazing thing: the best drill for the skill is the skill. That's on my backpack every time I do a course, and this is principle number 1. And when we will talk about Mealy in a little bit, in a while, we will come back to this. All human improvement is specific. If I start rotating my arms really fast, I will not start flying, but I will improve my arms rotation, and that applies to everything. So since we don't train athletes, we train tissues, we train muscles, we train fibers, everything we do must be as specific to the skill as possible. The second principle is about the magnitude of the load. That should be progressive overload. And we will talk about this in our chapter 3 as in a really nice, interesting approach. But your time is precious. If you start your season, for example, with a 10 abs, toe to bar in the wall bars, and you don't change it for 6 months, you should expect, in the beginning, some major improvement, and then it will be a plateau, and then even a decrease, because the body is totally adapted to that thing you're doing every single day. So no increment on the stimulus, no increase in the performance. So what can you do, because you want to continue to increase the reps, but you cannot do it to the infinite. So maybe you can increase to 12 or 15. It seems reasonable. Then you ask for 15 as fast as you can and slower down, for example. And then you reduce again to 10, but you put some ankle weights. And there you are getting some time in the process. The third principle is that adaptations are reversible. I was reading a really nice book about this, and the author was saying there's one way to take the mojo out of great athletes. You pick a Federer, a Nadal, a LeBron, a Biles, you name it. There's one way that you can decrease their performance without injury, and all of us know that. Don't let them train. Keep them away from the court, keep them away from practice, keep them away from the gym for a month. And depending on the abilities, you can register decreases of more than 50% on basic skills, not on dangerous things. For example, in basketball, that was the example they were quoting, free throw in basketball, they get 50% worse if they experience 1 month away from the court. So imagine a parallel to your kids' holidays, So all of the adaptations are reversible. And adaptations are different from people to people. We are all different. Even in the same age, our gymnasts are not alike. We, as humans, have a huge diversity, genetic diversity, and with the environments, with all our backgrounds that have influence on us. So the muscle fibers are different from me to any one of you. The length of my members are different. Our weights are different. And there's that inspirational quote sometimes that comes in the internet, a penguin will never be a giraffe. So be the best penguin you can be. And it is exactly like this. We train the giraffes and we train the penguins. Don't give them the same kind of training, not even close. And the fifth principle is really close to principle number 2. If we don't vary the stimulus, the tissues will adapt and will decrease the performance of what we are wanting to do. And the sixth principle is the holy grail of training science. We will talk about this in chapter 3, and You know, what is the appropriate rest? It depends on the load, you may say, and you may say it right. But what we really know is that insufficient rest diminishes the performance. And if you add that to bad sleep or sleep deprivation or a stimulus from some, you know, like some ergogenic like coffee, or even for your cell phone at night, you know, it doesn't influence your sleep function and you will decrease your performance. Poor sleep leads to a decrease of performance. But we will go to the load management in a while, so we will talk about this in a I think a really interesting way in a while. And the last of it is that at high levels of achievement, all the adaptation are, you know, smaller. Once you reach high standards, it's harder to keep getting better at the same fast pace that you were getting better when you were a novice. And you learn everything faster. And, you know, the first week of training was amazing. And now for a small, you know, for a small increase, it takes a lot of training and skills. So I've prepared some interactive thing to explain what can we expect from the two major principles or phenomena of training, which are supercompensation and overtraining, positive and negative one. And I know Nikolai in the past webinar already mastered these concepts, but you know, I cannot do a planning lecture without you know, talk about them. So this is my perspective. Both are related to the load that we have, and different loads will mean different outputs. So you know, imagine that you have your baseline, your fitness line. That's where you stand on your capacity. When you train, you induce your system, your tissues, some load, and that load is your training. It will destroy sarcomere, it will destroy muscle fibers, it will induce fatigue, and you will have a decrease of your normal aptitude. You know, imagine yourself after a 3 or 4 hour training and you will feel some tiredness. But then the magical happens, and with food and rest, and this is the proper balance, we will regenerate our body, and our tissues will get better. You know, it's the sleep, eat, train, repeat that you see sometimes on the t-shirts. And in fact, it is amazing that the nutrient intake associated with the sleep will regenerate our system, and the tiredness, the soreness will start to disappear. Our body will rebuild the tissues and will repair them, you know, like by multiplication sometimes of the muscle cells. We actually improve our capacity after destroying them. So either is strength or endurance, flexibility, we will get better after getting worse. We just need to understand what is the right measure of eat, sleep needed for the load we put on tissues. And then you can hit again. You can repeat the process, and you can, because you are fitter, you can give another load, and the process will repeat himself. But if you put your body into an inadequate, you know, not proper load, it's not on the right time, it's too much, you can reach overtraining status, okay? Luckily, it does not happen overnight from one training to another. Our body is an amazing machine, and you know, you will have some balance between that. But you know, if systematically you do that, you will go into overtraining. Normally it's just incorrect rest period. Sometimes we give exactly the same gap of time between trainings, but we strain the same body muscles. For example, yesterday we kill our gymnast abs, and today we are doing the same. They ain't getting better, you know. Sorry to disappoint you. You are just increasing the soreness, and normally, you know, they will not get better per se because they didn't have time. They didn't have time to refuel again. So this is, you know, you ask them, how are you? Are you sore? And they say yes. And next day, how are you? I'm worse. Okay, this is your red flag. You know, I know that if I want a good training the next day with stamina, with power, with quickness, I should not burden them in the same muscle groups. I can choose another muscles, you know, to kill. And this is really, really important in periods when optimal strength training, you know, when there are those sensitive phases in which our bodies are hormonally speaking ready to receive an increment on load. And we all been there. It's amazing. It's called puberty. And although it's psychologically speaking, it can be challenging to deal with teenagers. Well, this is me being political correct. Physiologically, you know, puberty is really, really amazing. And let's go a little bit into it. Just fast slide. You know, during puberty, the body goes through a huge amount of changes. Most of them are hormonal induced changes. And apart from those psychological transformations, which are also hormonal and chemical induced, there are some really important events crucial for the training. What I give you here is statistical data. It's not, you know, as I explained before, it varies from people to people. We are different in, you know, it's hugely different among sex. The age differences, you know, skeletal age and chronological age in our gymnasts are, you know, hugely different. You can have 16-year-old bases and 16-year-old tops, and they are, you know, totally different. But the thing is this, so roughly 1 year after the beginning of puberty, hormonal variation in the body, we register the peak height velocity, okay? And this is a really amazing moment. If you track your records, you know, of your gymnasts grow between, you know, 10, 13 or 14-year-old, you know, like bi-monthly, for example, like the example I bring you here, we have records November, January, March, May, August, and sometimes, you know, you go and this is the height of the gymnast, and there's a moment when they experience a growth, and this is magical because you know that approximately 3 months later, it will occur the peak weight velocity, meaning that the body is gathering food in order to prepare to adult life. It's not gymnastics, it's biology. It's our anthropological history. We are more close to a bear than to this kind of human beings that we are now, that food is at the reach of the hand, okay? Our system is close to a bear. They think, okay, you are eating now, so let's get your everything that you don't use into fat. You never know when you're gonna eat again. So this is thousands of years of, and you know, human evolution. And our body is not ready for what happened in the past 200 years or 300 years. So how can you use this peak weight velocity in your advantage? Well, let's transform that into muscle. you know, give them access, free access to the weights room. It's perfect. You put them on a strength conditioning programs. You give them muscle load. The body will take it. The body is ready. So it's asking for it. And you know what happens if you don't transform it to muscle. You know where it's going to land. Okay, so the best thing is that for the boys, the peak strength velocity, meaning the moment where strength will go faster, will happen a year from that moment. Girls, 1.5 or so. And another important thing is that for the girls, approximately 1 year after the peak height velocity, and obviously after the peak weight velocity, menarche will occur, and the changes that will bring, both physical and psychological. Okay, and if you have teenagers in your team, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. So just a really brief overview of the strength training, because it's something that always amazes me. And this is, what you want for progressively overload. The body will increase, so you can increase the load. So we have left side, you have the principles we've talked already, some of them: adaptation, overload, specificity, and recovery. And then you have on the right side the juice we can extract from those principles related to strength. So first, you work and develop from the major muscles to the smaller ones. Okay, usually I use the rocket analogy. If you want to go to the moon or any other place in space, first you develop the big booster, the big rocket. Only after you will develop the small astronaut capsule. There's no point on knowing, really cozy and nice astronaut capsule if you don't know how to put them into space. So work the major and after the smaller ones. Use specific patterns. We teach tissues, we teach the brain, we teach them how the movement is and how the muscles will work. So the best drill for the skill is the skill. Maximum effort is different from maximal speed, and that's also important because one can lead to the other. And work from resistance to speed to strength and to power, and in this order, meaning that you should first develop resistance that we need to endure speed activities, so low strength, perfect technique. Only then you can introduce strength, maximal strength, for example, and when that is developed, the body is ready, the tissues are ready, you can combine them and you can go on power. And this will briefly end the first chapter. So if you have any questions, Karin, maybe it's, we can give them like 1 minute. No, well, the time you need.
Yes, everybody. This is the first chapter.
Yep.
So you can use the Q&A section to ask any question you want, any clarification you need, or further questions. We will give you 1 minute, and then I will pass them on to Lorenzo. Everybody's very silent today.
I like when you say we give you a minute. That's it. Time is precious. But if you want, we can go, and if any question pops up, we can interrupt. Easy.
I think we can do that. Probably it's also because you're very clear with your explanation, and everybody is impatient now to hearing the further questions. Oh yes, we have one question. Will we get an example of an annual plan?
So I can help you with that, because the annual plan I can give you, it can be something really general that you can use in pretty much every sport. But if you have anything like, if you want something particularly, if you want any help, I can help you easily with that, and we can work on that. I can give an example. I can send later an example of the planification of a season, for example.
We have a remark from Simboli. That's not a question. It's just to say that participants really love all examples and the way of explanation. So it's probably the way to say to continue in this direction. But before we continue, we already have another question about how is it possible to know if the time is sufficient for the compensation?
I will answer that in chapter 3. Chapter 3 is about the load. Okay, so that's why sometimes I talk a little bit faster. I'm sorry for that. But I'm talking about gymnastics, and this is just two hours, and I could be here for more than half a day talking about this, because it's really exciting for me. And when you're talking about something you love, I need to have a plan to go, otherwise I will be everywhere. But we will talk about load management in the third part, and that is really, really nice, because it's something I'm trying to develop now and trying to understand better. So I'm giving you, there was a person once that told me the best people to give directions are the one that lose constantly. And I'm trying to understand better the load now, so I think I can explain it the way I understand, which is like for a toddler.
Okay, so I think we will continue with this specific topic later on, and now you continue with the next section.
Okay, super. So perfect. So let's go on.
Oh, sorry, Lorenzo, we have a question. I read it to you. When you speak about working speed and strength, does this refer to when lifting heavy weights? Initially, they perform the technique whilst lifting heavy weight, but once that's achieved, you would perform the lift as fast as possible? That's a question.
Yes. Yes, definitely. So first you have to have the conditioning to make that kind of work. So you need to be ready to work fast. Okay, for that you need to work strong, like maximum weights, maximum capacity. Only then, with perfect technique, so like I explained, just speed, like with elastics, for example, not weights. So you get your perfect technique, perfect, like the perfect direction of the movement, for example, no side or problematic errors. And we will talk about mistakes now and the importance of not making them. And only after that, so perfect technique with low loads, huge loads to give strength, to give the body, to make the body ready for power.
Thank you, Lorenzo. I think it answers the question of the speed.
Okay, so let's go to chapter 2. And chapter 2, the beginning, I will talk about the training process, meaning how you learn. It's exactly how you teach. It's the teaching process, okay? how can you develop skills, okay? And we will talk about million because it's really what makes you teach. Then we'll talk about my training bricks. How can I make my wall, okay? And this is my case, okay? And then with visual examples, I will explain periodization and the connectedness of volume and intensity. So let's go on milling. How do you learn? Well, myelin is a lipid-rich substance that wraps around, the nerve cells' axons. It's like a thin layer of fat that wraps around those long wires that conduct the electrical stimulus. Okay, and how does it work? No, what myelin does, it insulates the circuits, allowing the electrical impulse to go faster between the nerve cells and the muscles. It's like broadband internet. In another picture, imagine the copper wires that carry electricity and that plastic that wraps and insulates that so you don't get electrocuted, and that's myelin, that plastic there. The more myelin wrapping the circuit, the more insulated it is, the faster and precise the information flows from the nerve cells to the muscles. I don't know if you are familiar with this, but myelin, for example, is responsible for multiple sclerosis, that condition, that disease that patients start losing motor control because the electrical impulses do not flow with the correct frequency over axons. And scientists discovered it was a lack of myelin. So how does it work? Well, roughly I'm sorry, I need to go back. Roughly every time you perform something, and I will repeat this many times, out of your comfort zone, okay? Meaning that out of your learning zone, myelin adds a new layer. I'm being too simple with this. Of course, it doesn't add a layer every time, but if you picture this, you'll understand what it does. So every time you perform correctly a new skill with the appropriate technique, myelin is there helping you to learn, making that knowledge to travel faster and accurately to your muscles. The bad thing, is that in the same way, if the technique is poor and there are mistakes, the same layer is added, promoting that the same error travel fast to the brain, from the brain to the muscles. And this is why it's so tough to break down systemic errors, okay? So just imagine this, okay? For every repetition, myelin wraps one sheath of, like involving the axon. So imagine it is getting faster. It's faster to transmit the information every time you repeat. But that happens also when you do a bad repetition. Do you really want to allow a bad repetition? Because myelin is there saying, okay, let's do it again with the same mistake. So this is how it's so important, to work the proper way. So let's see how it really works, from the learning process. So I just want you to try to read these two columns, okay? I will give you some time. Try to read and memorize, column A and column B. You take your time, you just read them, try to memorize, the pairs, the couples of pairs that you have there. Okay, you done? So column A in yellow and column B in pink. Okay, we'll go get to that. Time is precious. We will move on. I'm sure you all almost tried to read it. So the thing is, if you try now to remember what pairs of words do you remember more, I can bet you, because it's statistical, that you will remember more words from column B, you know, the river boat. And studies shows that you are more likely to remember 3 times more that pink column. But did I make your memory be better? I don't. I did not. So why is it that? What happened? First of all, because every time you read the pink column, you encounter those words with a blank spot, something really amazing happened, almost imperceptible, but you stopped, you stumbled, even briefly, you struggle to find what that means. You know, you struggle to understand there's an O missing in boat, okay? And when you figure it out, it stays with you. You experience that microsecond of struggle, of hard work, of obstacle, and that microsecond made the difference. You didn't practice harder, you practiced deeper, okay? And we need that struggle. We need to be out of balance. We need to be out of our comfort zone. And unless the skills are dependent on physical size, it's not, and I will emphasize this, it's not how you are born, it's how much work, okay, you practice. So there's no talent in the equation, so practice as much as you can. And finally, that's why we need mistakes. We need mistakes so we can correct them, and after we make it wrong, with the proper feedback, we will make it right. That's where we are. That's where we enter. When I said the proper feedback, that's us. But how can you practice for mistakes? You know, this is not music. This is an activity that can injure you. You know, this is not playing the piano when it just hurts your ear when you press the wrong key. This can literally hurt you. How can you practice for mistakes? So for that, we will do small, tiny experience, okay? You will try to understand what this sentence is. It is full of words we can identify, okay? But, you know, it does not too much sense to us, I'm afraid. And if we combine it with the letters making the words we know, voila, everything fall into pieces. Now we can relate, we can identify. Same letters, I can guarantee are the same letters. It gives me a lot of work to put them together in a way you cannot understand. But, you know, now it makes sense. So the first step, the first of all, is break it into pieces. Break what you do into pieces your gymnast understand, okay? So you make them understand the whole skill, and then you break it into small components, and then you can slow it down. It will faster the error correcting, okay? Second one is the one we know the best, I think. You repeat it. We already know what's the best way of making athletes to fail. We've talked about that, okay? Don't let them practice. Don't let them practice. They will fail there was, you know, there was a huge famous violinist, I don't remember the name. He said that if I don't practice for a day, I know it. If I don't practice for 2 days, my wife knows it. If I don't practice for 3 days, everyone notices. So this is the same for us, okay? The important part here is that we can constantly try to improve with the proper feedback and focusing on our problems, on our weaknesses. And the last rule for motor skill learning, which is, you know, like almost to every other learning process, is that you really need to be on the edge of the breakthrough. To make some new specific thing, you need to be on the edge. When you ask people, this is also a study from musicians, because it's easy to ask them, because, you know, the problem for failing is just a sound that's not nice. So when they make studies with them and they ask, what is the best practice for you? You know, the best training sessions that you had, they said words like attention, connect, build, focus, mistake, repeat, tiring, edge. The amazing the list is amazing and goes on, and it shows that feeling, not all are positive, you know. Most of them have that feeling of failing short, you know, trying to reach again. There's an amazing book called Practicing from Martha Graham, that she calls this feeling the divine dissatisfaction. It's almost getting there, trying one more time. It's not like the Mick Jagger satisfaction. So long story short, you try to pick a target, okay? You pick a goal, and then you reach for it, you break it into pieces, you slow it down for better understanding. You go for what's missing, you go for the gap, and you develop that with constant feedback, okay? Focusing on the problems. And then you evaluate where you are, when you want to go. And you need to evaluate that in order to you go to step one and repeat again. Maybe you have a different goal, okay? So let's go on our sport. We've talked about how we learn. Let's talk about how can we train. So this is a bit of a discussion about the training process. What to include, how to use the equipment we have, and the time in our favor. And this is my wall, okay? This is my current wall, I'm sorry. The wall that I make the foundations from my training, okay? The bricks are there in specific positions. The first layer are the physical abilities, strength and flexibility, the cornerstones, okay? Most important thing, individual elements, and morphophysiological aspects. I call it medical because I work with doctors very closely. Two of my coaches from my team are doctors and my ex-gymnasts, so I work with them real closely, and that's why I include that brick in the first layer. The second one, the blue one, is not really a training layer. It is, you know, it's a glimpse of the equipment I have that allow me to develop the next layers. I have a full floor, I have foam pit, rig, or you know, the launching belt. I have fast track, I have trampoline to pit and bungees and stuff like that. The third layer are the foundations stones for acro. Are, you know, the most important things for me at this moment with what I have: trampoline, weights, ballet, handstand blocks or hand balancing blocks, and choreography. And finally, the core of our sport is pair and group technique, sequences of elements, parts of routines, and full routines. But this is my wall now, okay? Some years ago, not that many, things weren't so bright, so shiny. So I had no medical department. I didn't have the majority of the equipments. I had no floor. I didn't have rolls, no trampoline, no tumbling, no bungees, no fast track. I had no ballet teacher. And because my gym was, 8 to 10 meters size, I had no chance of making full routines without climbing on the walls. And although some of them are super athletes, this wasn't that possible. So if you look at it now, I look at it now and I said, this ain't much of a wall. No house will stand with a wall like this. And this is a metaphor for sometimes many coaches I meet around the world that complain they don't have a solid wall. And if you look at these bricks from this perspective, hell yeah, there's no house will stand. Okay, so back on the days, I changed my wall. These are exactly the same bricks, and the Egyptians built amazing structures with this shape. They are still standing. So you can see the cornerstones are the same, strength and flexibility, okay? It's the same because you can work it. Either you are on the beach, on the grass, or in a gym. Individuals, I assume they were primal. Choreography was centered. Then I relied in some equipments. We had a rig, we had a belt, and the weights were easy to get and blocks were easy to make. And then we had technique and sequences as the crucial part of the sport that could lead us to making parts of routines that we glued together to make full routines, and the things work as they had to work. Things tend to work best to the people that tried the best of how things work out. So we compete in 2005 Europeans with this kind of structure and with relatively success, and year by year achieving results. Granted, more equipment, more gymnasts, more coaches, more facilities, and we grew from there. So my advice is, do not copy. You will be frustrated. You adapt. You adapt with what you have. You build your wall with what you have, and you grow from there. And that, I think, can relate a little bit with the question from the beginning about the calendar, because I can help, but to give a calendar with the walls I have now maybe certainly different. Okay, so let's go there. Let's go on the calendar and let's go deep on the planning. This is an example of some years ago planning I had. And let's go on what we have to talk when we talk about periodization. Periodization is slicing the season of the year in more years in small bits. Okay, it's going from macro structures to micro structures, from the global idea we have to one training. And sorry, each period, okay, we assign to each period specific goals to achieve. Okay, so let's break this time into pieces. Let's pick from that long-term plan year number 3. Okay, we pick from those 4 years between, for example, Olympic games. We pick year number 3, and from year number 3 we pick half a year. Okay, and there's on the 3rd year you have the macro cycle of half a year with a transitional period, a general preparation period, a specific preparation period, a pre-competition period, and a competition period. And from there, we slice, for example, we take the pre-competition into a special cycle of 4 weeks, of a month. We've decided that our pre-competition will be 4 weeks on that month, okay? And then we take a small microcycle of 6 days, and you can choose day number 4, and you see we have a small training session and a large training session. And this is how you can go from the big picture to the small one, is cutting your, you can understand 1 day, you can understand 6 days of a week, you can even understand a month. When you start going up, things go on a mist. It's difficult to understand half a year, okay? But if you go again on a Zoom and you get, oh, this month will be like this and this and this, and you make everything on an overall picture, everything will make sense, okay? So let's go deep on periodization. And how do we define each period, okay? Why did we say back then that pre-competition was 4 weeks, okay? So this is normally the definition, and you can add periods like you want. This is just the common literature review. Transition period is normally the period between seasons or between macro cycles, okay? You try to keep the level, you lower the volume, you lower the intensity, you have a great period to recover from injuries, some, you know, past injuries, past pains from the past. You can improve basic technique, and you can and you should acquire new skills. Preparation period is basically preparation for the season and for the competitions to come. This is crucial, okay? Volume should increase, conditioning should increase, strength, flexibility, endurance. You should increase pretty much everything, you know, bit by bit. Basic technique should be as perfect as possible. The general preparation stands for the foundations of the season, okay? It will layer the pillars for what you're going to build next. So it's a crucial moment. It will get your gymnasts on the right track, or take them any chance to go where they want to go later, okay? So the specific preparation in this general moment is just fine-tuning the skills and the abilities and the conditioning, having everything ready for the pre-competition stage. I deliberately call it stage because this should be understood really as a staircase. You know, we go climbing step by step, making everything more deep into competition. Intensity should rise, volume should rise, conditioning should be at the best level possible. So pre-competition is you know, the final countdown, the 10 to 1 countdown on a rocket launch. It is having everything set on the edge for the last phase, okay? So all the routines are set, everything is ready, everything is practiced many times, all elements are close to perfection. You made test simulations, you strained the body, you strained the mind to the competition limits. Overall, you make yourself ready, okay? You make yourself ready for the competition. And then there is competition period, you know, there is, you know, where everything, all the systems focus on that special moment where you have, you know, it's ready, set and go. Volume should decrease, intensity should be on the edge or submaximal, or even decrease when competition comes. But you want to have everything ready. And because of that, you need to understand how volume and intensity must work, okay? And that is, crucial, so much important for the next phase. So you train to train, you train to compete, and you train to win. And here is where volume and intensity meet. So I prepared, a visual 6-month macro cycle. Okay, this is my 6-month macro cycle for some seasons ago. So on the X, okay, you have a 0 to 5 scale of both intensity and volume. Okay, we also have down it will appear the month and the week. Okay, so we will start in January, week 1, and we are in general preparation period. You can see that when the weeks pass by, okay, the intensity should rise. Both are related to the competitions that we will have. And here is the first one. On week 6, we have our first meeting. It is a club meeting. It's a private meeting. It's a testing event. Intensity low, it lowers, volume gets a little bit high. There's no problem. The results are only important in the way that we need to know if the path we've designed is correct. Okay, so we go further, we keep on going on the season, and then on week 9, intensity is higher, volume decreases a little bit. This is probably the MIAC on the first week of March. It's a long competition, and we need to decrease a little bit the volume on purpose. Okay, and then we take the momentum of MIAC for the regional championship that in Portugal gives access to the national on this 10th week. Okay, then we take a bit out of steam and pressure because we know we will rise it on week 13. In Portugal, it's Easter holidays, and we can have the gymnasts for longer periods in the gym. So it's 2 weeks at, full throttle. And then we lower a little bit again because we have the nationals. Again, we recover from that intensity on this competition period because all is getting higher now. Worlds are ahead. May is powerful month. Then everything is ready. You start taking the foot out of the gas pedal, and then on week 23, there's the World Championships. You focus on what it really matters: technique, perfection, mind and body. Okay, and this is it. This is the just to show you this 5 to 6 month macro cycle. Bottom, there's the competitions. Okay, here is the volume, and here is the intensity. Okay, see when the tendency curves cross. Okay, it's Easter holidays. So, notice now how they are at the Worlds. The tendency is high. Okay, in intensity is high, as high as possible. Volume is a little bit lower, but this is what you want to see. When I see this, my God, what a delight! I just take a minute to look at this and I say, wow, this was really, really clean and neat. I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, well done. This was a really nice program. We managed to overcome all the steps we needed, and I think this is what all should be. So if you remember what we talked on chapter 1, I think everything will make more sense now. Okay, so we are done on chapter 2. We are heading to load management now, but I think maybe Karine, if maybe it can be interesting to have a small interaction between us. I don't know if
Yes, we can give you 1 minute to start to write your question. We already have one question that was raised at the beginning of the chapter 2. How much repetition is enough to learn a skill so that it's not lost during the competition?
The direct answer is it depends. It depends on the skill, okay? And it depends on the skill level of the participant. As I explained, if you remember, one of the last training principles, the last one states that everything is harder to achieve when you train at higher levels, okay? So any increment are really small for the amount of work you need because you are already there. I'm not expecting that Federer is hitting the ball, you know, oh my God, what a different way. No, you will fine tune everything. But it will not be something completely new that will happen years ago, okay? So I have some numbers that I achieve myself over the years, and most of it, I need more, how to put it, I need higher numbers when the gymnasts are young, and or not young, unexperienced, and smaller numbers when they are more experienced, okay?
Thank you, Lorenzo, for this answer. We have another question linked to the last part of this chapter 2, the volume and the intensity. The question is, how do you balance volume and intensity of both partner elements and individual power training in the macro cycle?
Okay, perfect. That is really nice. Thank you. I let the graph on purpose. So the picture stayed on purpose so we can look at it and try to understand that there are moments on the season that sometimes you need to step back. Even during some periods, you need to step back. You cannot be 5 months, for example, in a competition or pre-competition mode. That will be that will be too much intensity. You need to make things at ease for them. Otherwise, everything will fall down when it really matters. So you need, when we talk about load later, I think it will make us understand better how can we balance things with their input. Okay, so I normally work individually. Some have this kind of conditioning, some of that kind of conditioning. I have a lot of seniors that have, extra training duties with university and things like that. And you have to handle that, to deal with that in different ways. But because they are older and more mature, you can work in, like with a microscope, with a small. You don't need to have a huge, broad range of stuff. You have to go really deep on that thing to make it better. So there are things that I work constantly all season, okay? And after I have the power, I work the power every season. Sometimes we lower it, sometimes we get it high. But if you are working on a pre-competition level, for example, they are working power and you don't need to give them weights because they are already at full throttle,
Thank you. Going back to the question of Maylin, Kimberly has another question because she's not sure that she understands well. She thinks that she heard you say that they repeat the same mistake because that is what slipped in. Is it what to understand? I think that was the question about the myelin.
So the thing with myelin is that whatever you do, your body, your brain, your nerve cells think it's what you want to do. So they will help you do it. So myelin will increase either you are doing what you should or you shouldn't. The body doesn't know. Okay, that is why that's your job as a coach to give the correct technique. So when myelin wraps or gets thicker, it gets thicker the way you want it. In Portugal, we have a saying about old people learning languages. We said it's really difficult, and for the youngsters is easy, and that's because it is more fast to the myelin wraps faster at younger ages, and that's why you should develop your music or some physical abilities at younger ages, not too young. There are sensitive moments where the wrapping is faster because the brain needs to process the complex skills that you are giving him. So the thing is that myelin is good and it can be bad if the coach is good or is bad or not paying attention to where it should.
Thank you. We still have two questions. One question about the intensity. How is the intensity evaluated? Is it a general concept about numbers and difficulty of pairs and groups element? Does it include the physical preparation? How do you evaluate the intensity?
So thank you, Juan. The intensity we evaluated in two ways. One, I will explain just later with the load management, and the other, it's with the numbers of repetitions with the time I give them to do it. Okay, so what we want in some parts of the season is that repetition is with higher success rate, and that will make the difference, not just making by making. Okay, is making as perfect or as correct as we think it's needed, and we use some tools to evaluate that in a real how do you say not subjective way, objective way. Okay, so we use some tools that were designed for the gymnasts, where they write down not just how the training was, but how the elements were and how they were performed, and that will give us a real lively profile of how was the intensity that we take or we give in that training session.
Thank you. Our last question, and then I think we can move on with the last but not the least chapter. The last question is going back to the number of skills. The question is how to relearn a skill that has caused an injury.
Well, I think the best way is to follow the 3 steps for everything. Okay, and probably we need to have extra equipment like a launch and have 100% sure that the gymnast understands the skill. So probably we should take more time in the first phase of the learning stage. Okay, break it down to components. Maybe we need more methodological situations. Maybe the brain needs to understand better what is happening. Okay, sometimes the injury happened because of problem in the coordination, for example, and it's not the way the, let's say, the top knows how to do it. It was something that happened. So if we know that, we need to go where we think the problem occurred, and not, sometimes it's just not because of the straight salto, or, you know, it's because of the way the straight salto was done in the pair or in the trio or in the main four. So you need to understand where the problem was and break that problem into pieces. Maybe we went too fast, maybe, you know. Sometimes injury is the worst thing that can happen to us as coaches and our gymnasts also. And you need to, I'll give you my perspective. An injury is always my fault, and that keeps me every time on the edge to understand that if sometimes something traumatic happens, which hopefully it doesn't happen often, it was something I didn't teach well. So I'll need to teach it in a better way. You know, I have to understand more, learn more, study more, develop more, so it doesn't happen again. Sorry, it was too personal thing.
So I think we can continue on the next chapter, and we will go back to questions afterwards.
Okay, so load management. This is where I try to put how can we apply load, not in an empirical way, okay? Not, you know, like a painter. Is not what I want, you know. It's a way of try to measure how to be efficient with our gymnasts, and most of all, how can we use load for injury prevention. And it is something amazing. How can you use load to prevent injury? Okay, so load is you know, this is training science at its best. When you manage it, you manage all the situation. And we can and we should know a lot of biomechanics, or, you know, or techniques, or anything, everything associated with those applied sciences that, you know, like psychology and physiology and nutritionism. But the core of our job is load management. And sometimes I feel it is a little bit freestyle, just go with the flow. Then suddenly, you know, a week, injury. Wait, what just happened last week? We had 3 injuries, you know. It can be chance, it happens, but we all heard in the movies that expression, you know, it's not you, it's me. Well, in this, you're right, it's not them, it's us. Okay, we messed up something in the load process, in the load managing process. So how do we deal with this load, eat, rest sequence? So these are the 5 steps or principles. 1, load prescription should be on individual basis. Again, we talk about this, okay? What you plan for someone ain't the best for his teammate, okay? Regularly monitor and make the necessary adjustments. And that's what this chapter is all about, okay? Have a clear, you know, like connection between internal load and external load. So what they experience, you know, RPE that we will talk in the next slide, or heart rate, and the external load, which is the repetitions, the routines, the conditioning, like the question Juan was just posing. So this is what we are doing now. And the 4th is really important. It is risk injury assessment, okay? This is the key factor. This is, you know, is the worst can happen, This is the worst can happen to a gymnast or to a coach. It means time without practice, and we know what time without practice will do. So all we do should be in the perspective of injury prevention and risk assessment. How we combine the acute and the chronic load, okay, will be the main point of prevention and injury. And of course, the psychological load should not be neglected. If they are tired because of exams, if they have issues at home, if something bothers our gymnasts, the training is affected, the load that we are giving should be taken into consideration. But unfortunately, this matter, okay, it's for another symposium, and then we can correlate wellness and load. So let's go on RPE. What is this tool? This nice tool. I can say another adjectives, but okay. So RPE is it stands for rate of perceived exertion. So it is it's like the load, the acute load you give them. RPE, it's like an 11-point scale, okay, from 0 rest to 10 maximum load, the gymnast perceived, okay? So this scale is empirical. It is non-invasive, okay? You don't take blood from them. You have, it is how they perceive load, okay? The general idea is that after a training session, okay, they give some perception feedback, rating from 1 to 10, how they feel, okay? How you felt your training today. After that, you multiply that number 1 to 10 by the minutes of that training, and you have some comparable value. You can compare that value with next day, okay? And what we do with that number is the real magic, because after some training sessions, and this is important, it's not immediate, it's after some training sessions, you can start to understand how can you progressively increase workload without injury. How we do that? Comparing the acute load, so the perceived day-by-day fatigue, with the chronic load, which is a measure of your general, the general fitness of your gymnast, okay? So let's say, for example, you have a 3-hour training, 180 minutes, and you give a 6 to that training. So you have 1,080 units of load, okay? That is the measure that you will use to objectively quantify your training, okay? So the key value we face here is the ratio between the acute, so this day fatigue, with the chronic, your fitness, okay? So the idea is that you can register the data for some time and become to adapt that info, okay? So remember, this is important notion. Acute is short term, is today, is how you felt, fatigue, okay? Is your fatigue scale, let's say. Chronic is long term, is your fitness, okay? The important thing is the ratio between them, okay? And what's the ratio? So you have 1 week of total workload, okay? And the average of the past 4 weeks, okay? Let's see this example. We are in week 5, okay? We have done this 4 weeks of training, and you know, you have, for example, let's say you have this average So in week 1, you have 5,000, 6,000, 4,000, little lower. Week 4, higher again. So the average, which is the chronic, okay, it's 5,500 of these units, okay? This is the average of the past 4 weeks. And you divide that by that's your fitness, you divide it by your fatigue. And that will give you, you can see there is on week 5 with 6,000, you train a little bit higher. So it means that you were 10%. So it means you train 10% more than your fitness. And that is what we want. It's one of the principles, progressively overload. It's one of the things we've talked about, okay? And this is, okay, it takes time. It takes some of your time, some of your daily time and your gymnast's time, because they have to register, you have to take notice, you have to do the math, but you understand the importance of this by the next slide. So imagine these are the results, okay? This is 8 weeks of my program some time ago. The first 4 weeks are just to have a significant average of the chronic load, okay? So you can see that there's a steeper slope on the orange graph. That means we are making progressive overload, okay? And that will bring us to, so just to explain, so to understand that, you need to have the amount of the first 4 weeks, okay, divided by the 5th. And when you reach the 5th, you have week 2, 3, 4, and 5 by the 6th. And when you reach the 7, you have 3, 4, 5, and 6, and so on, okay? So you are always with close connection with the last 4 weeks, okay? And that brings us to the research conducted by Mr. Tim Gabbett from Australia. And he and other researchers are gathering information concerning the optimal training zones where you can work hard, injury-free. And this is the key thing, okay? It's hard and injury-free. So imagine the example on the left. So you have the ratio from acute and chronic, okay, between 0.9 and 1.1, okay? This means you are working 10% less or 10% more than your fitness, okay? But overall, you are progressive overload, okay? Because if every time you work close to 1, this is in a relation with the past 4 weeks, okay? And this is where we want to go, okay? Overall, if we are between these values, okay, between 0.8, 1.25, something close to that, you can see you are inside that green area, okay? And because the ratio is close to 1, it means that the chronic load is every time getting higher. So your fitness is improving, okay? That will have a really important effect on the load that you manage to give week by week, okay? If you are in this spot, in the red square, it means you are in the sweet spot of injury-free. So it means that the studies they made showed that the injury rate is really low because you are training close, okay, to your maximum fitness, always progressive, getting better, okay? So if the acute load, okay, let's go on the danger, on the red square. If the acute load is significantly higher than the chronic, that means that the load is increasing the risk of injury. And that is anything we don't want, okay? That is the big secret of this research, is keep your training, you know, don't make crazy, stupid, abrupt changes from one week to the other, or you can expect that the injury chance will rise. And once you control this, once you effectively control and understand and manage the load, you control the training process. You know, sun shines, sky's blue. We are happy coaches because our gymnasts are getting better without injury. How perfect can that be? So with that, I sincerely hope I could give you some insight, some interesting information. This is the juice of many years of work and personal experience also. I sincerely hope that you enjoyed the time we spent, and it was time well spent, okay? I hope that you think that what we've done here can have some impact in your future training. And well, that was my goal for today. Thank you so much, you all. Thank you, Karin. Thank you to the UAG. Thank you to the Acro TC that pushed us, you know, forward, made everything, really everything so methodically to assure that would went as well as perfect. Thank you all that were on that side. I'm really sorry I cannot see you or hug you, or, well, thank you. It was a privilege. And well, let's hear some questions because we have time for it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lorenzo. That was very, very interesting. So yes, we still have another 10 minutes to receive all your questions. We already have one from Kimberly. What should be the best acute numbers that gymnast could give in week 1 to 4? Or does it, or does not matter? Does it matter or not?
I'm reading the question, sorry.
Yeah.
So the thing is that, keep in mind, the numbers you get from week 1 to 4, you can use them. The thing you can use them. I use them because I not throw them on the garbage. So, for example, the numbers when I start the program, I use the numbers of week 1 to compare with week 2 and 3 and 4. The thing is that it is not statistical significant. It's just that, okay? So after you have 4 weeks of data, they are statistical significant to be your gymnast's fitness. You understand? So I'm sorry if I was not clear on that. So you don't take them out. You use them, I use them, but of course it's more empirical data because it's not proof that what you do just in 2 weeks, it's your fitness. Okay, you need more time. It's just that. Okay, do I make myself clear now? Sorry.
Yes, I think it is. I think it's really clear because it's based on the perception of the load of each person. We have another question now that is more general, but I can give that answer. It was a general question, so it give me the occasion to remind you that this webinar is recorded. So all this information that have been given today by Lorenzo, you can watch them again on the YouTube channel of European Gymnastics. So of course you can go back again and again on all this very precious information. It's very, very interesting, and there's a lot of information that can help you as a coach. So do not hesitate to go on the on the YouTube channel of European Gymnastics.
Sorry to interrupt. Just if you have any question that you want to pose to myself, you have my email down below and in the first slide also. So do not hesitate. I do not assure I can immediately write back, but I will sure write you back.
Thank you very much, Lorenzo. Is there other questions from the audience? Okay, if not, I think we can close now this webinar. I really would like to say a very big thank you for Lorenzo, because it was a very, very interesting webinar. I'm sure that all coaches that were here today have really appreciated this. I would like just to remind everybody that if this kind of webinar are interesting for you, because you are the ones who are important for us, we will continue with this series of webinar in 2021. So we would be very grateful if you could send to us all your remarks and suggestions for the future. Just before, we still have another 5 minutes, so just before we really finally conclude, we have another question on the chat. Do you calculate the RPE and the fitness zone individually or for combination? I suppose it means for the groups, for the unit.
I combine three things: individual, for the group, and for the team. Because for me, as it really matters to me to know how the team is facing the training. You know, well, this is it. Because one thing is how one person is responding, the other is how is that pair or three or man four is responding, and the other is how the team is responding. So I make it these three things, and I analyze the three things. I try to make it every day to prepare the next training. But again, I do not use only this, but the extra tools needed, you know, another webinar, because it has to combination with the load and if you remember the fifth component, which was the well-being, the welfare of the people involved. Okay, so it's these two combinations, simple scales, simple things that give me the things I need to know for the next training and for the next week.
All right, thank you very much, Lorenzo.
Thank you.
Thanks again, it was very brilliant, and all the feedback we have from the participants just confirmed that. So thanks again, Lorenzo.
Thank you.
Hope that we will all see each other very, very soon and for real. But before that, I will give you another appointment for the 12th of December. We will have Anna Matiskina, and we will talk about artistry. And next week, you will also have some news about the next webinars that will start in 2021. I wish you all a very good day. Thanks again, Lorenzo. Thanks to all the participants who has really helped to make it very interesting also with your questions. And I wish you a very good day. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.